and you put your hands on it. And you just start to move it or roll it forward and backward with both hands at the same time. Very slow. And just notice whatever you feel in your hands, in your palms, and what happens underneath your hands. If you have a perception of the volume underneath your hands, how the tissue underneath your hands is changing or shifting as you move the pillow. And then come to a neutral position. And then as you move the right hand forward, you move the left hand back. So there is a little, you see there's a little twist in the tissue. And then as you move the right hand back, you move the left hand forward. So your two hands are still or are communicating with each other, but they go in opposite directions. And just notice again what you feel in your hands and what you notice in the tissue of the pillow or the volume as you slowly move your hands in the opposite direction. Also notice what's happening in your shoulders. So what do I do with do I move my shoulders with it, or are the shoulders more or less still? Do I include my pelvis? I can make this shifting in my hands connected to my pelvis, or I can just shift with my hands. And then the same way, moving both hands forward and back, I can just do it with my hands and my arms are following a little bit. Or I can also include my spine in that and my pelvis. And how is that different if I include my spine and my pelvis in this homologous movement? And how is it when I include my shoulders, my spine, and my pelvis in this kind of homolateral movement? Also including my large intestine, my kidneys, my psoas, my bladder. And so bringing back this, what we just explored before, in a more dynamic way. So you're starting, maybe you were starting from a more mechanical movement forward, back, or in opposite directions, but now maybe you can find a way which is, even if you go forward and backward, that your whole body is involved in what you're doing with your hands. And maybe you exaggerate a little bit. So just for the purpose of understanding how to involve your body, maybe you just want to exaggerate a little bit, either in a homolateral way, so right side, left side, or in a homologous way, just rolling the pillow on your legs. So in a way, like if you think about you working with a child or working, like let's say your right hand is on the leg and your left hand is on the hip. Just so the child maybe is side lying and my left hand is on the iliac crest and the right hand is on the knee, just as an example. And you try to find that relationship and mobility and movement in the hip joint, how you can allow that your whole body is participating in that. So it's not a mechanical movement, but it's an organic movement which allows you also to connect to the volume underneath your hands, the volume of the leg and the volume of the pelvis. And even if you imagine that you touch only the leg, so I go a little bit lower here, so and the hip, I don't touch the hip, I only touch the leg and I move the leg forward. I still can touch and move the leg in a dynamic way, which allows my own body to participate fully into this movement. And you can switch between one and the other. You can take your hands further apart or closer together. So in some situations, maybe you have your hands more like this, on one side or the other side of the joint, or maybe this is maybe one hand is on the pelvis and the other hand is on the spine. So you can also, wait, let's see, this is on the pelvis in the smaller child, and then here you have the hand on the vertebra, and you have a similar thing, how you can involve also your own body into that movement. And you can connect each vertebra going up and down in this way. So, and play, you can also play in this direction. So it's not about following a certain recipe, but following a certain ideas of movement, connecting your two hands in a way which allows a dynamic relationship to your own body, and in that way a dynamic relationship to the person or the child you're working with, including the more structural aspects like bones, ligaments, fascia, but also the fluid volume aspects of of the person or the child you're working with. So take a few more moments just to play in any way you feel like is giving you that connection between the two hands and a dynamic relationship with your own body. Hands in different positions, maybe even in this position, in different ways.